Nationwide is so much more than a great insurance company. They're one of America's largest financial services companies. Like how I'm more than Saquon Barkley, the NFL's reigning leading rusher. I'm also the NFL's leading husher. Shh, hush up back there. Wow, I might have just set the hushing record. Well, almost. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Investment Services Corporation, member FINRA, Columbus, Ohio.
Looking for these better days.
It is Tuesday, September 30th. I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's what you need to know to make today a better day. Monday Night Football doubleheader last night wrapped up week 4 of the NFL season, and we might have an interesting model to take a look at the week 5 slate of games. But later today, the Major League Baseball postseason will begin. That's right. The quest, the hunt for October begins. I mean, I guess technically, Mackenzie, it is still September, so October baseball doesn't begin until tomorrow, but hey, it's the Major League Baseball postseason, and that's always fun, right?
Playoffs, no one will remember in history the great September 30th game. It'll all be October one day.
Unless somebody does something and we can call them Mr. September, like Jeter became, Mr. November after he had that big moment there in the World Series. So, yeah.
Hey, ALCS, the flip, that's got to have been in October.
That was, of course, in October, yes. It's going to be a fun month of Major League Baseball. We do have some baseball content coming up here. Colby Marchio will join us in a little bit here on this episode of Better Day, presented by FanDuel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe to the pod wherever you get your podcasts from. If you're just tuning in for the first time, welcome, and shame on you for not joining us earlier, but we're glad to have you aboard. Mackenzie Rivers is with me here on this episode of Better Day. Mac, let's talk about the Monday Night Football doubleheader from last night. Game number 1, we saw the Miami Dolphins pick up their first win of the season and continue the trends of 0-3 favorites, which now improved to a perfect 6-0 straight up in ATS since the start of the 2021 season in week number 4. Dolphins beat the Jets 27-21. The game does not go under because the Jets scored just under the 2-minute warning. Womp womp. And Jalen Waddle does not go over 48.5 receiving yards because he finishes with 48 receiving yards. Yes, we lost the prop by a half a yard last night. Tough one to swallow. Tougher pill to swallow, though, for the Dolphins is losing Tyreek Hill for the season after he suffered a gruesome leg injury last night. What was your take watching this game? Your take seeing the results and seeing the Jets now at 0-4?
My take on Sunday Night Football was Dak Prescott's just better than we had previously collectively estimated, even if I was kind of high on him. I'd say even though they didn't win, just like the Cowboys didn't win, my take is Justin Fields, by hook or by crook, has a lot of value to give in the NFL. I mean, Tim Tebow won 10 games in a playoff game and threw a famous pass in Mile High Stadium, and I don't think he could, touch what Justin Fields can do, even if neither of them can throw, even if neither of them can operate, what we think of what Tua can do. He can't do the other stuff. Super Bowl style, P's and Q's type offense. He's still electric to watch and ruined my underbet and was the story of the game. And I think the fact that the favorite covered made a lot of sense from the beginning of the game. It's like, all right, well, one of these teams was supposed to be good and they're on their P's and Q's. They're going to play a B-plus game and going to be just generally X's and O's and Joe's and bros better than the Jets. And I thought it was, pretty much a cakewalk for them. They were too focused. They weren't going to let it be a bad night, which is why favorites cover in this spot generally.
Well, in the first quarter, though, I mean, the Jets were running the ball right down the throats of the Miami Dolphins, and they fumble going into the end zone, essentially, and it completely changes the outcome of the first quarter, certainly, but also changes the outcome of the first half as the Dolphins, were able to march down the field after that fumble, a 15-play, 96-yard drive, and score a touchdown. And then the Jets fumbled again as they got down to where were they when they fumbled? They got down to the 36-yard line. and there was the sack and fumble. So 2 turnovers there early on for the Jets. Who's to say how it plays out? They get the field goal. It's a 17-3 game. Then the touchdown 17-10, but the Dolphins answered once again, which was good on them. And then it was, frankly, not close until the end when the Jets scored a touchdown to make it 27-21, and that was really it. The game was over at that point.
I mean, you can point at the stats and say the Jets played the better game. 104 more total yards, 4 more first downs, but I think just the pace of the game after the fumbles, like however it happened, I just felt like the Dolphins weren't going to lose this game. Like I felt like if a fourth quarter back and forth Cowboys-Packers style transpired, there's the Dolphins and Tua had a lot more had more options even after Hill went out.
Yep, and this so I mentioned this fell into the system of the 0-3 teams, right? With getting the win, the Miami Dolphins. But I have started to do some work, Mackenzie, on offensive and defensive lines in the NFL, and it's not so much like, maybe I could build a model off this. Like that seems to be like the popular thing now. Everyone's building a model. I have a model to predict every winner of the NFL games. Follow me on TikTok. No, but what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to think outside the box here because everyone's using the same stats. We know that, right? So what can we do that might be a correlation to success that is not the obvious? And the obvious being like, okay, yards per play, right? EPA, like that's some obvious stuff. But I think the line play is something that it feels like it's obvious once we start talking about it, but it's not what people bring up when evaluating games. Right? How many handicappers or how many people do you see on these pregame shows going, well, you know what? I really like the Jets here over the Dolphins because the Jets are going to have their way with their offensive line versus the Dolphins' defensive line because their run block win rate or pass block win rate is better than the pass rush win rate and the run stuff win rate and all that stuff. You just don't hear that. So I started to look at some offensive line numbers, and I did a kind of like what I did in the offseason when I bet on Nick Bosa to be the defensive player of the year because the 49ers faced the easiest group of left tackles in the NFL over the course of their schedule, and obviously RIP to that ticket. But I did a composite grading system of offensive and defensive lines in the NFL. I utilized data like, the win rates up front. And I also utilized the data from PFF, the blocking grades and the pass rush grades and things like that. And so I now have a baseline grading system of every offensive and defensive line performance in the NFL. And I wanted to see how that grading system had done this week and how it's done in previous weeks. Well, Mackenzie, the Jets was the only loss this week out of the top what I call grade A matchup ratings of line play. The rest of the games in week number 4 were 7-0 straight up. The results are 7-1 straight up in week 4, 6-2 ATS here in week number 4. The only loss straight up was the Jets. The other win, another Monday night game tonight, it said the Denver Broncos, and it spit out the Denver Broncos, who we'll talk about in a minute, dominated. But going back through the weeks, straight up wise, week 4, 7-1, week 3, 6-2, week 2, 8-4, week 1, 8-1. ATS.
But that's using the current offensive line stats looking back.
Exactly. And it's not perfect because it's the data that we have after the fact, But I'm just curious, like going back and looking at it, the overall numbers here, 29-8 straight up, 25-12 ATS. And underdogs are 5-4 straight up, 6-3 ATS. But if I looked at the top mismatches, so ones where there's like a 70-point or higher grade mismatch out of my grading scale, it's 7-1 ATS right now in the 2025 season. I think this is fascinating. We'll talk about the matchups that it applies to coming up here for this week. I can give you the preliminary numbers, but also I have to now update the data because with every week we have new data on these offensive and defensive lines, so the grading system is going to change every single week. Like the teams that are ranked, 1 through 32 now are not going to be the same teams that are ranked 1 through 32 next week, because each week we're going to get more data points. So I'll update it accordingly. But I just thought it was really interesting to take a look at what the numbers were for week number 4, especially 7-1 straight up and 6-2 ATS. So the Jets were one of the mismatches, and early on it looked like it, as they ran all over the Miami Dolphins. But then, of course, the fumble, and it changed everything. The other mismatch was the Denver Broncos against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, what a call.
Watching that game last night, I'm honestly thankful I didn't watch the whole thing. It was a terrible game to watch. The Bengals are horrible. And it can't just be Joe Burrow. It can't just be all the quarterback, because Jake Browning went 4-3 as the starter a couple of years ago. And Jake Browning is capable of playing the quarterback position. But Chase Brown, 10 carries for 40 yards. They have 15 total carries for 53 yards. Jake Browning was 14 of 25 passing for 125 yards, sacked 3 times. This is where the offensive line mismatch came in here. The Broncos ran the ball 38 times for 186 yards and 2 touchdowns. That is where this model, for lack of a better term, was right on point. Complete mismatch in the trenches. And it showed last night.
Unbelievable that it did. In fact, let me tell you that I completely disavow whatever I just said about the Dolphins Jets. Now that I think about it, listening to that, the fact that this should have been 8-0, the Jets kind of dominated this game and had 3 fumbles and lost them all, and that's why they lost this game. So let me reverse on that, because what we could easily be saying right now is we have this offensive line data that you're talking about, pointed heavily to these 2 matchups, as big as differentials as any in the week, and it could be one team ran for 197 and 1 and covered, one team ran for 190 and 1 and covered in the Broncos by 25 points. And this is an 8-0 trend. So it goes to show you that there's the right side sometimes, and then there's the winning side. Like the Raiders-Bears from Sunday was one of the biggest differentials in actual EPA production on non-turnover plays, just regular offensive defensive productions, for a team that lost because they had 3 turnovers. And then you look at the line, which closed Raiders minus 2.5. All the money Saturday, Sunday, just like it did for the Falcons, came in on the Raiders, and then they had this huge stats win but lose the game. Are we off the Raiders now? Are we on to the Bears because of, like Sports Center and Bill Simmons and the way people talk about these games? Like, oh man, you shouldn't turn over the ball, like Geno Smith. Like, yeah, it's true, but maybe some of the real most representative numbers, like win rates, like winning at the line of scrimmage, are pointing to these winners, and the money was right, and sometimes you don't win when you're right.
So based on the mismatches here in the trenches, and I'm going to call this is going to be called the Trench Report. That's what we're calling it here.
It's pretty good.
It's a cool name.
Did you think of that?
Right?
You stole that from somebody.
I mean, people do trenches stuff all the time, but I'm calling it the Trench Report here. So
I would have called it trench warfare. I would have gone too far. Trench Report's perfect.
These were the biggest mismatches in week number 4. The Buffalo Bills against the New Orleans Saints.
But that's obvious. It's a 15-point line for a reason.
Exactly. And the Bills won, but they didn't cover. So that goes into...
That's when you start having the filter to your algorithm, like with this we take with a grain of salt.
The next biggest margin was the Denver Broncos over the Cincinnati Bengals. Okay? Your next
Mile High in September. What were people thinking with Bengals plus 7.5?
I'm an idiot. Your next highest mismatch was the Jets over the Dolphins, although not nearly as high as the Broncos over the Bengals. Like when I talk about some of the matchups over the past couple of weeks that have been like 70 points or higher, the Bills and the Broncos, their mismatches was over 100 points. The Jets was only 54 points.
Okay.
So
yeah, order of magnitude different.
Yeah, the next mismatches, the next top of the top 5, the Texans over the Titans, and the Jaguars over the 49ers. So let that sink in here. Of the top 5,
That's really interesting with the Jaguars 49ers, because that same EPA stat that I was talking about actually pointed to the Niners winning, and it makes sense. They had 4 turnovers, the Jaguars had none. But a lot of plays like that last fumble, Niners were beat from the line of scrimmage. From
Yeah.
the moment of the snap.
So the
that
the
is what
Jags.
caused something that traditional stats would be like,
Yep.
all right, who got the most first downs doesn't really pick up.
So here is what my data showed here. My data showed that the Jaguars had a massive edge in pass protection and run blocking versus the 49ers.
Niners are
pass
averaging
rush.
3 yards a carry. It's been
No,
terrible.
I'm just talking about
and
just
it's been not talked
defensively.
about.
So they have an edge. They have an edge defensive. The pass protection and run blocking for the Jaguars was a massive edge over the 49ers pass rush and run stuff. And then the 49ers offense in pass protection was just a very, very, very small edge over the Jaguars pass rush. And the 49ers run blocking was a very good mismatch against the Jaguars run stuff. But it overall, the matchup completely favored the Jacksonville Jaguars.
So, wait, our pass rush, our rush block has been good. I mean,
Yeah.
we have Christian McCaffrey, and you're telling me we have good run blocking? We haven't been able to run at all for 4 games.
It's not. Well, let's look at the overall numbers here. Okay, so here's your top composite grades. As far as let's go, you want to do pass protection. Let's do pass protection. Number one, pass protection.
I want to do rush blocking first. That's all I'm thinking about.
Rush blocking, okay. Run blocking. Number 1, Bills. 2,
Okay.
Rams. 3, Cowboys.
Where are the Ravens? I'm interested.
4, Jaguars. 5, Panthers. The 49ers
These are not the
10th.
best rushing teams. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Sorry?
The 49ers are 10th. And where you want the Ravens?
The Ravens, yeah, they score 37 points a game. How are they doing this?
The Baltimore Ravens are 8th.
Okay, they're 8th. All right.
Yep.
So they have
Now-
They have great rushers, but maybe above average blocking. I don't know. Seems like they have good blocking.
Now, pass protection, Broncos 1, Cardinals 2, Jaguars 3, Bills 4, Falcons 5. And then run defenses, Browns 1, Commanders 2, Seahawks 3, Chargers 4, Bucks 5. Pass rush, Browns 1, Texans 2, Steelers 3, Seahawks 4, Rams 5.
My
And now,
instinct
obviously-
is that the most consistent week to week, and I'd love to just do this study, is pass blocking. Because we see these teams like the Cowboys have 200 rushing yards and then have 30 all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think pass blocking and getting to the quarterback would be the most consistent. The way teams build their teams nowadays.
So here are your biggest mismatches early on here for week number 5.
Thank
Now
you.
this is going to change. This is going to change, I believe, because and it could change because I'm going to certainly update the data here. But I've run through every single game, and games with a certain number of a mismatch get graded as an A. So anything over 30 plus gets graded as an A. But here are your top. I'll give you all the grade A games, and then I'll tell you what the top 5s are. So here are all the grade A games: Broncos over Philly, and right now they're like 4.5 point dogs. Panthers over the Dolphins, believe it or not. Giants over the Saints. Seahawks over the
interesting one.
Bucks. Seahawks over the Bucks. Cardinals over the Titans. Lions over the Bengals. Bills over the Patriots. And the Jaguars over the Chiefs. Now your top matchups here. The number 1 matchup of the week with a 76-point edge is the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Chiefs road favorites. Man, my instinct tells me Chiefs for sure, but that's kind of when numbers are important. If numbers always agreed with our first instinct, like I remember you texted me today, like, develop this model, it's red hot, it likes the Jets and the Broncos. And I'm like, I kind of like the Bengals though. So, I mean, at least kept me off betting the Broncos.
Tonight like an idiot.
But sometimes that's the most important time to listen to the data when it's like goes right against what your first instinct is.
Yep. And then, so the rest of your top 5 highest mismatches here, and again, this is going to change throughout the week, but Lions over the Bengals, Cardinals over the Titans, Giants over the Saints, and Seahawks over the Tampa Bay Bucks. Those are your top 5 biggest mismatches. So that's going to change throughout the course. Once I update this data, which I should be able to do later today or tomorrow. But I
So
do
how
think it's interesting.
so how do we count for like the Buccaneers? They might have had terrible pass blocking. They've had a couple offensive line injuries, but the big one's been Wirfs. He should be back at 100% like going forward. So
I think
like
what's going to
if you have
happen
individual stats on players and then
Well, I
you
think-
combine them, it's an interesting way to do it.
Well, I think what's going to happen is that first off, I will have their updated data from week number 4, right? So all
Right.
of their win rates I'll have for week number 4.
Right.
But what's interesting is that the PFF grades are updated. So in this model, the PFF grades are updated, and the PFF grades is going to account Tristan Wirfs being back because they grade him back. So if you can look week by week, like they have gotten an upgrade in their offensive line numbers because of Wirfs being back. So that is something to keep an eye on. But I think this is going to come in handy when we have injuries on the lines.
So it's a combination of win rates from ESPN and PFF grades. It's a model built off of that.
Yeah.
I like that. That's because I distrust PFF fully because it feels like sometimes like Lamar Jackson was first for a while, and then this year he's 20th, even though he's like QBR has been very flat. Like he hasn't been this huge dip and huge rise. The team has been, oscillating between good and bad. I feel like that kind of influences PFF sometimes. So to weight it under something that's more A or B binary statistical like win rate, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and it's creating a composite score. So like obviously PFF is doing their grading on a different scale and a different analysis. Like they're looking at, hey, we like the players on this offensive line. We're seeing what they're doing. We're giving this team a pass blocking grade of 80.1, whatever. But now I'm going to look at the data and say, how is that team doing in their win rates? What are they doing at the line of scrimmage actually in these games? And then give them a grade for that and then combine the scores. And so there you have it. So it was
how 7-1 with a bad beat 3 fumble loss in there. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's been a pretty good first week performance for the model.
Pretty good first week, and again, I'm very curious. I'm going to update these numbers, but so far it feels like the best bet of the week might be Jaguars +3 against the Kansas City Chiefs.
What's the second best bet of the week? It's like, that's the best bet of the week, but
second best bet of the week.
Patrick Mahomes on the short
Second best bet of the
week.
week would be laying the points with the Lions against the Cincinnati Bengals.
That I like. Line moved from
how could
7.5
you not like it?
to
The Bengals are a terrible football team now.
The line moved from 7.5 to 9. I don't care about any of those points. Have 8.5, all you want. They're going to either win by 2 scores or they're not. I know every point matters, but those are very inconsequential points. The Lions are going to cover by 3. It's going to be a 14-point win.
Oh, my goodness. Anything else from you in the NFL, Mackenzie, before we get to some Major League Baseball here? No update on Lamar Jackson for his status for this week, but
update on the line as we predicted. It reopened around 3.5 with the downgrade from the game and the 6 points we considered for Lamar Jackson. He looks like he's more than 50% likely out, but definitely not surely out. And Brock Purdy now questionable. Line moves from 3.5 to now 5.5. Rams favored, hosting the Niners. Re-aggravation of the toe. Man, it doesn't feel like a 3-1 season. I'll tell you that much. But
well, it's like I said when we recap the Sunday games. I feel like if Mac Jones was 100% healthy, then Brock Purdy he wouldn't have played because I don't think Purdy was ready to come back. But Mac Jones was out, and so if Purdy was 70%, you're going to be like, hey, you're going to play.
And if I'm evaluating that contract, I'm not sure if that's good for my evaluation of if it was a fair deal, because like, oh, look, he's, he came back from injury and, he didn't perform that well. I mean, he performed all right, 300 yards or whatever, but, not 100%. So take it with a grain of salt. Or you could say, man, we're in week 5 and he's not 100% and he's questionable every week. This is not what I signed up for.
And this is where the bad spot is, starts to come into play here, because now we are in week number 5. And as we look at the trends, we say Thursday nights, they're not as significant.
The Niners are in week number 19 since late August. That's just how the war of attrition works in San Francisco. Yep. Move the practice facility. There's some bad juju or something. Get new turf. Just change something. Go from Gatorade to Powerade. Man, everyone's hurt all the time.
Well, we'll have plenty more on that game as we get closer and closer to kickoff of Thursday night football. You can follow Mackenzie on Twitter at Mackin Rivers. And now it's time to talk some Major League Baseball. Colby Marchio joins me right here on Better Day. With the Major League Baseball postseason set to begin later on today, joining me now on this episode of Better Day, presented by FanDuel, is Colby Marchio. Check him out online, Colby M. Bets. If you don't follow him already, I don't know what you're doing, because he's constantly handing out baseball winners, and you find his stuff at Betting News. Colby, thanks so much for giving us a couple minutes here. Welcome to the Better Day podcast, and how excited are you for this postseason that is set to begin here today?
Well, one, Scott, thank you for having me. Two, to answer your question, this is the best time of the year because, the baseball casuals finally come out. They keep talking about Cal Raleigh being MVP, and they haven't watched the whole season, so it's marvelous. People are finally caring about America's pastime. I know America's current pastime is football. I understand that, but I live for October. I was talking about it earlier today. There's nothing better than that feeling with playoff baseball where you feel something's due and then it happens.
Mm-hmm.
I love that about the sport. It's magical. I know it's not everyone's favorite sport. Over the last couple of years it's kind of died, but I think it's coming back, and it's the best time to get into it if you've never fully got into baseball.
Overall, just looking at this field, I've been telling people this is the most wide open postseason I can imagine in quite some time. And I know some people will come at me and say, oh, well, it's still the Dodgers because they're getting healthier and they figured some things out in the back end of the bullpen. And I'm like, please, let's wait and see what happens here.
100%.
The pressure's on the line. And as much as I love the New York Yankees and think this is as good of a chance as they have as any year to make a deep run, it wouldn't surprise me if they lose to the Red Sox in the wild card round and the Red Sox go to the World Series. So I think it's completely wide open. Now that you've seen the bracket and you've assessed the field, what's your overall take on the teams that are either have the byes or they're playing in the wild card round? How do you see this thing playing out?
The same as you. I have no bleeping idea. I haven't had a strong take this entire season. And I keep saying you could call me lazy for not having a strong take, but I think that's a good thing. I don't want to know. I mean, a couple years ago, I thought it was the Rangers. I never bet them, and I regret it. It's my biggest regret ever, them not betting them in June of 23, and then they go on and win it. It's going to be like the 23 World Series. I'm praying. Fingers crossed. I know a lot of people don't want to see a repeat of last year. I do lean heavy on the Dodgers, but I could see, like you said, literally anybody. And I do think whoever comes out of the NL wins the World Series. I'm creeping up on, leaning towards the Mariners coming out of the AL, but I could nitpick every AL team if I wanted to death. As a Yankees fan, I don't want to see that bullpen. I'm deathly afraid of having a lead late in the game and then whoever comes out, Devin Williams, please don't come out of that bullpen. You'll blow the lead for sure. But again, every team. I mean, the Red Sox, I think, are a good value play. As a Yankee fan, it sucks saying that, but they're like plus 750. That's a great price for them to at least win the pennant. I think they're a dark horse. It's going to be interesting to see what the Guardians do, being the hottest team in September, now playing a collapsed Tigers team. It's going to be great. I love the chaos, and if you have a lean, good for you, but I have no idea.
Yeah, during the season, I went all in on the Phillies because I love the makeup of this team. But when they lost Zach Wheeler, it crushed my hopes for them to win the World Series. I did feel that they made the best move at the trade deadline, right? So locking up the back end of their bullpen with Joan Duran. But I don't love the bullpen outside of him. So, I mean, let's see how it plays out here. Again, losing Wheeler is massive. Can they replicate, can they replace him with some of the other guys? Maybe. But I wouldn't be surprised to see any matchup in the World Series this year. I mean, no one would surprise me unless it's the Reds. The Reds would surprise me if they got to the World Series. That's the one.
Terrible. That would be awful.
The Reds would surprise me. Let's talk about the wild card series that begin here on Tuesday. Here are your prices, again, courtesy of the FanDuel Sportsbook. Yankees taking on the Red Sox. The Yankees are the home team. Yankees minus 184 in that series. The Cubs, who are the home team against the San Diego Padres, they are the favorite, minus 126 in that series. Then the matchup between the Tigers and the Guardians. So it's funny that we have these divisional matchups in the American League, right? But the Tigers and the Guardians, with Cleveland, by virtue of them winning the division, they are the home team. However, Detroit is the slight favorite at minus 112. And then the Dodgers take on the Reds. LA is the home team, and LA is infinity. No, they are minus 270 favorites over the Cincinnati Reds. So just looking at those series prices, any that you find value in? Are there any dogs that you're interested in terms of the series prices for the wild card round?
It's tough. I was going through it today. I was trying to get a feel. I'm probably just going to let it play out. If I was to bet someone, I feel like it'd be the Guardians, just because I want to ride whatever's hot, and you'll hear me talk about more things that I'm riding because they're hot. They're the most dangerous team in baseball. I mean, I'm waiting for more people to say no one wants to play them, because I hate hearing that. I feel like everybody hates hearing it. Oh, no one wants to play this team. But I get it. And what are the Tigers right now? I mean, you blow that lead, you go 0 for 10, and you let the Guardians surpass you in the Central. The morale has to be on the floor. And I know you get Scooble tomorrow, and that's usually a morale boost for that team. He's usually stops any negativity coming into that locker room. But I mean, he hasn't looked the sexiest. So it'll be interesting to see. I would lean with the dog in that one for sure. If any of those, I lean with the Guardians.
Okay, yeah, I was trying to think of, is there any dogs that I like in these series, and I mean, maybe it's the Padres against the Cubs. Like, that would be the one that I would look at, just because I love the Padres lineup, and there's a lot to love about this Padres team. But I mean, PCA is on fire. The Cubs have a nice little mystique to them. And it would be the Guardians. That would be a play for me, just because of how well they've played down the stretch. And, I know the Tigers can breathe a sigh of relief because they're finally in the postseason now. As, the Astros, they can thank for that. But I still think that they're a little mismatched here. Maybe not in game number one. And let's talk about these games. And the games will start here at 1 o'clock Eastern time. It'll be the Tigers and the Guardians from Cleveland, with Tarek Skubal on the mound going up against Gavin Williams. Tigers are minus 164 with a total of 6.5. Now, all of these totals are going to be low, of course, because it's the Major League Baseball postseason. However, I always find value in these overs when these numbers are just significantly lower, because the starters, like, the numbers are based off of the starters, right?
Yeah.
But what have we seen so far? So, in the recent history of Major League Baseball postseason, the starters are being yanked from the games earlier and earlier. The managers aren't trusting them to get outs. They're panicking, and they're going to the bullpens, and then the bullpens might be susceptible to giving up some runs. Plus, just both teams that are playing in these games, in these matchups, are supremely talented. A combined score of 6, 6.5, 7, it just feels really low when you consider that in the regular season, a matchup like this would be 7.5 or 8 or 8.5. So I don't think that just because it's the postseason and everything's magnified, we need to all of a sudden drop these numbers significantly.
I'm right there with you. I know a lot of people aren't going to like this number price tag wise, but the number is sexy. I'm a sucker for first 5 team total overs. I don't like, unless it's like an obvious under spot, I'll take an under. I'm typically not an under better with baseball, and I have my reasons. But every other sport, I'm 100% an under better. I love betting unders. But the Guardians' first 5 team total tomorrow is a half. I've never been able to bet a half on an offense that I liked. And it's $1.07. It's $1.70. Now, you can moan and groan all you want. I will happily pay that juice because it's a misprice. In my opinion, it's a misprice. You can parlay that with whoever and get some plus money if you're not in the paying the juice business. Yeah. But anything other $1.80 for me, I will pay. I will happily pay that. This is going to be the 3rd time the Guardians get to face Skubal in under 2 weeks. It will be an overall 5th time. They've gone back-to-back outings of scoring at least a run in back-to-back games. On the road, Skubal hasn't been the sexiest in his last 4 starts on the road. 2.35 ERA, allowing nearly 5 hits, 2.5 extra base hits, and 1.5 runs allowed. Those 4 games came against the Athletics, the Royals, and the Marlins, and then the Guardians. And the Royals were the one team that did not score at least a run. Overall on the road, 2.25 ERA, 4 hits allowed, 2 runs per game. You see a guy more than once, you get a feel for him. You got this. This is going to be your third time in under 14 days you get to see one of the best and most dominant pitchers in baseball. I don't see him having that advantage tomorrow. And if he does, I have a ton of hats behind me, Scott. I will tip them all to Skubal. A half a run is an insult.
I like just going with the first 5 total, just over 3.5. Like you can get that at even money. And you mentioned it, with both these teams have seen each other so many times. There's no surprises. It's a divisional matchup. Give me 4 runs in the first 5 innings combined between both of these teams. I think that's a play, especially at even money. So that's one that I would look at. And yes, look at those team totals if your book does allow that. Some books might have over 1.5 at plus money. If you can find the half at the juice, certainly the juice is worth the squeeze in that area there. Let's talk about the second game of the day. This is a 3 o'clock Eastern time first pitch. The Padres at the Cubs. Nick Pivetta going for the Padres and Matthew Boyd for the Chicago Cubs. Now, Pavetta's a guy that, Colby, I was backing all year long in the right situation because Nick Pivetta has incredible splits. At home, dominant. During the day, dominant. When you have a home day game, perfect recipe. This is not a home day game. This is technically a day game, but it's on the road. But during the day, 7-2 record with a 2.34 ERA. Opponent's batting average against Nick Pivetta during the daytime, 181. It's hard not to like the Padres here in a spot where it's pretty much a minus 110 split both ways.
Yeah, this one I was digging for something that I like, and I thought I would like something with Pivetta, but the Cubs are finally, about damn time. It feels like they're turning it around, and I don't want to lean on Pivetta to get his Ks, especially on the road. Like you mentioned, he's not a strikeout guy on the road. If he was at home, I would have already been on it. We would be talking about how it's probably the play of the day. But this is a tough game to find at least a good read, in my opinion. I'll probably stay off it, or I'll have something in the morning, but I have no strong lean on this game.
Let's go to the next game. Yankees and Red Sox from the Bronx. Max Fried against Garrett Crochet. Yankees, a small favorite, minus 134, total of 7. And again, this is the same thing for me. It's both of these pitchers. I respect the hell out of them. You got a total of 7 in a Yankees-Red Sox game. I got to go over. I got to go over this number. I don't care. With all due respect to both of these pitchers, these numbers are too low. Fried and Crochet are incredible. The number of 7 is too low for Yankees versus Red Sox.
100%. I will most likely be on either Stanton or Judge tomorrow to leave the yard because they're doing so well against lefties, especially Judge. Judge against the lefty is almost an auto play. I know he doesn't have the history against Crochet, but I would much rather take the hottest bat in baseball against whoever's on the mound. You can name any pitcher of all time. I think I would lean with Judge in any spot. I want to see the price. I'm not paying a plus 160 for a home run, though. But it's Crochet, which is typically for Judge's props. Base-wise, he's usually plus money for 1.5 bases, which, if you've never heard me say this, it's an auto play anytime Judge or Shohei are plus money bases. It's a misprice. I don't care if you lose your money that day. It is always a misprice for the 2 best hitters in baseball to have plus money on 1.5 bases.
This is I'm just looking this up here in my database. And this is going back to as far as 2004. This is the 14th time that a Yankee Red Sox game, regardless of when it is, this is just the 14th time that a Yankees Red Sox game has a total under 8. Okay, in those games, it is 9-6 to the over. I'm talking at Yankee Stadium, I should say.
Okay.
In those games, it is 9-6 to the over. So it's not a great not a great positive trend. I mean, it's still positive at 60%, but it just goes to show you how rare it is to have a total this low. Actually, let me see if it's with the total of exactly 7. I say under 8 because there's a chance this thing might get to 7.5 by the time the first pitch comes. But if it's a total of 7, there's only been 7 games at Yankee Stadium since 2004 between the Yankees and Red Sox with a total of 7. This number's too low.
It's a scary low number.
Too low. Too
Scary low. Yeah.
Yep. And maybe you can if you don't like the full game to go over because
First
maybe you
five.
think that well, I was gonna say if you think one of these pitchers might shut the other team down, just split your bets and
Oh,
go
yeah.
both of these team totals
Mm-hmm.
because you can get like both of them over 3.5 runs, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
for the full game. This way, if the Yankees win 5-2. Or 5-0 or whatever, or the Red Sox win 4-0 or 4-1. At least like you're covered kind of both ways. That might be an interesting angle to look at if you aren't confident or you think one of these pitchers is going to dominate. Finally, let's talk about the Dodgers hosting the Reds. Dodgers minus 196 in this game with Blake Snell on the mound, Hunter Green going for the Reds. Another low total of 7, and he plays in this game.
Yep, I locked in Shohei's bases at minus 115. I typically don't like paying juice. So if you're not in the juice paying business, again, especially for bases, but it's Shohei, it's going to usually be around this price. If you don't want to do that, you can take his home run or his double. That's usually what I do when I don't feel like paying for the juice because you get a really good price for his double. And I know his home run's typically under 2-1. But has an elite rating on Batters-Box and has a rating above a 0.6. Now, why am I mentioning a 0.6? Because his trends when having above a 0.6 rating are diabolical. So this will be his 75th game with above 0.6 rating. In 74 games, 84% of the time records at least a hit, 35% of the time records at least 2 hits, 65% of the time over this bases prop, 49% of the time 3+ bases, 78% of the time over 1.5 H to the double R, 55% of the time over 2.5 H to the double R. Homers 32% of the time, hits a double 22% of the time. This is Hunter Green's 8th road start on the road this season. 4.81 ERA, 2.71 opponent batting average. He's a 54% fastball pitcher. Shohei murders every pitch in his arsenal, and I am a sucker for any pitcher that leans that heavily on a fastball because we're talking about the greatest hitter in the game right now to hit a fastball. I love it.
I love it. I love it. Let's go. Let's go. I want to bring up one more angle here that I want to run by you. As I was just looking something up, I was thinking about the early start time there in Cleveland. Okay. It's 1 o'clock Eastern time, first pitch. And what do we know about day games? Shadows, right? So I was curious and I looked up like the sunset time in Cleveland.
That's such a sicko move.
Okay. And the sunset time is around 7 o'clock Eastern time, right? That's what it is for today and tomorrow. So 7 o'clock Eastern time. Now, this is a 1 o'clock game, but you would imagine about 2 hours prior to sunset is when the shadows start to come into play. Now, doing my research, Cleveland, they say the third base side, during the summer, as I was reading this article, I am a sicko, by the way. This article was saying in the summer, sunsets around 8:30. However, around 6 o'clock, the third base seats are in the shade. So that means that about 2 hours, 2.5 hours before sunset, third base is in the shade. So if I'm doing my math here, and I'm not trying to figure things out, I would say about 2 hours before sunset, we're gonna get maybe the batter's box in the shade and the pitcher still in the sun. So 1 o'clock start. Sunsets at 7, maybe around 4, 5 or so. The shadows start to creep into play. First 5 over, and then play a live in-game under. Because later in the game, the shadows will come into play when the bullpens are coming in, throwing 90-something mile-an-hour fastballs and sliders. That's when the hitters will have a difficult time picking up the baseball from the pitcher. So we like the first 5 to go over, but wait until you get an in-game number and go under the in-game total later in the game. That's how we're going to cash.
That's the sicko play of the day. That's the sicko. I'm not lost for words. You're like, let me look up those shadows. That's awesome. Also, for the people not aware, Progressive also has that wind tunnel for lefties since they had those renovations.
Yes.
You got to look. That's the best. That's why I took Ramirez's home run over 30 home runs this season because of the wind tunnel.
Great
I'm like,
call.
yeah, he can get 30.
Great call. Great call. And I guess, yeah, we should be targeting a bunch of lefties here. Right?
Yeah.
Although with Skubal on the mound, you got the
Yeah,
lefty-lefty
maybe wait on
matchup.
game. Yeah.
Maybe wait and then do an in-game prop once Skubal comes out of the game. You see who's coming out of the bullpen, and then you could start to target some of the lefties then in the roster for the Cleveland Guardians on maybe like a
100%.
live prop, a live batter prop. Kobe, this was fun, man. You want to leave the audience with any other futures bets that you have here for the postseason?
Oh, yeah. I locked this. This is my favorite play to sweat out all October. I took the over on Carlos Rodon's ERA at 3.09. Now, shockingly, didn't know this when I bet it, but that's his season number was 3.09. I think he's more than due to go over this. I know he's had a very good serviceable season for Carlos Rodon, but he's done terrible against Boston this entire season. He's a 5.74 ERA, 1.34 WHIP, 11 hits allowed, 11 runs, 10 walks, excuse me. Career postseason ERA is 6.64 in 21 innings pitched. Last season, 5.60. He's done terrific. He's beyond due, in my opinion, and the Yankees fans could probably contest to this. He's not that good. I've never trusted the guy, and if he proves me wrong, so be it. That means my team's probably winning. So, a bias aside, he's terrible, in my opinion.
Well, with not a lot of with less innings to pitch in the postseason, it just takes giving up a couple of runs in one inning. That's
Could
gonna
be one
just
series. That's all I might need.
Exactly. Going to completely mess up your ERA. The other
Yeah.
thing from a Yankee perspective is I'm going to be betting anytime home run for Giancarlo Stanton every single game because playoff Stanton is here. He
it's
heated up
awesome.
at the end of the regular season. It was like Judge was hitting home runs at the end of the season. So was Stanton. And so BDS, big you know what Stanton, is going to have himself another big October here. So we're going to go over the
Big
anytime
Mike.
home run. Yeah, Big Mike. We're gonna go over for Big Mike. I think it's plus 300 for the first game, so we're gonna take that
Wow.
in each and every game for the postseason. Stanton is my pick to hit some bombs here. Colby, appreciate the time, guys. You got to make sure that you follow Colby on Twitter. He's at Colby M Bets. Watch his show. Follow Your Betting News on Twitter at Your Betting News. We'll get Colby back on here throughout the postseason as we sweat out our bets here. The Major League Baseball playoffs beginning later on today. And make sure you head to betterday.com where I'll have a write up here, part of the newsletter, but also in the research section, we'll have a couple of articles up throughout the Major League Baseball postseason with some best bets and some of our feels and takes for all of these postseason series. For Colby, Mackenzie Rivers, who joined me earlier, I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's hoping you make today and every day a better day.